The chamber of the Galactic Council was silent, colder than space itself. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in a circle of white metal seats, their eyes fixed on the blue hologram floating in the center. The image showed one small planet, far from the trade routes, far from any help. Its surface was dark red, covered with storms and deep scars. Lightning flashed across its clouds every few seconds. Even from space, it looked angry. A warning label blinked beside it in bold letters. Class 15 Deathworld. Survival rate, 0%. No species had ever lived there for more than 48 hours. The planet killed everything. One tall gray alien stepped forward and spoke in a calm, cold voice. The human problem must end today. Around the chamber, others nodded. They are unpredictable, too emotional, too violent, too fast at adapting. They will become a threat. The Council had watched humanity for years. Every test had surprised them. Every war game had ended the same way. Humans always survived. Humans always fought back. And that made the galaxy nervous. The final vote appeared in the air. Exile, not prison. Not negotiation. Exile to the Deathworld. The decision was made in seconds. No one objected. To them, it was not murder. It was simply removing a future problem. Far away, a heavy transport ship drifted through space. Inside it, thousands of humans sat in metal seats, hands tied with magnetic cuffs. Soldiers, engineers, doctors, workers, even families. They had been told they were being relocated. No one told them the truth. The lights inside the ship flickered. A young officer looked at the small window and frowned. The planet outside did not look normal. The sky was red. Storms moved like giant snakes. "This doesn't look like a colony world," he whispered. Before anyone could ask questions, the alien guards left the room. The doors locked automatically. A robotic voice spoke in broken human language. Deployment in 60 seconds. Good luck. The humans stared at each other. Deployment? Someone asked. Then the floor shook. The ship's bottom doors opened. Cold air screamed inside. One by one, drop pods fell into place beneath their seats. Red lights flashed. Panic started to spread. "Wait, this isn't right." A woman shouted. "They're dumping us." Another yelled. But it was too late. The pods launched, dozens, hundreds, thousands, like metal rain falling toward hell. From orbit, alien satellites watched quietly. Some officers even laughed. 48 hours, one said. Maybe less. The pods burned as they entered the atmosphere. Fire covered the sky. Inside his pod, Captain Elias Ward tightened his straps and forced himself to breathe slowly. He had been a military survival instructor. If this was death, he would face it standing. The pod slammed into the ground hard enough to break trees. Metal screamed. Dirt exploded into the air. The door blew open. Heat rushed inside. Elias rolled out and hit the ground. The air smelled wrong. Thick, bitter. Every breath burned his throat. The sky above him was dark red, covered with black clouds. Lightning flashed again and again, like the planet was angry at their arrival. Around him, other pods had crashed. Some were broken. Some were on fire. People crawled out, coughing and scared. Strange sounds echoed from the forest. Low growls. Heavy footsteps. Something big moved between the trees. Everyone group up. Elias shouted, "Stay together. Check injuries." His voice was strong. It cut through the fear. Slowly, the humans gathered. A medic treated the wounded. An engineer checked the broken radios. Nothing worked. No signal. No way to call for help. They were alone. Then the first creature appeared. It was larger than a truck, covered in dark scales, with too many teeth. It moved like a hungry animal that had never known fear. It charged straight at them. Some people screamed, but Elias didn't. Spears, metal rods, anything sharp. He ordered. They formed a line without thinking. Instinct, training. The creature jumped. The fight lasted only seconds, but it felt like forever. When it ended, the monster lay dead in the dirt, black blood leaking into the ground. Several humans were injured, but alive. Everyone stared at the body. We killed it, someone whispered. They expected to feel hopeless. Instead, something else grew inside them. Determination. If it could bleed, it could die. Night came fast. The temperature dropped hard. Storms roared above them. But the humans didn't cry or give up. They moved. They worked. Fires were built. Metal from broken pods became tools. Bones from the creature became blades. Guards were posted. Plans were made. From orbit, the alien satellites zoomed in, ready to record the first deaths. The officers expected to see bodies, panic, chaos. Instead, they saw something impossible. The humans were not running. They were not hiding. They were building a camp, organizing, preparing defenses. One alien leaned closer to the screen, confused. Why aren't they dying? Another whispered slowly, they are adapting. On the surface, Captain Elias looked at the burning fire and the dark jungle beyond it. More growls echoed in the distance. Bigger ones. Worse ones. He gripped his new spear and spoke quietly to his people. Listen up. This world wants us dead. So we fight. We survive. Together. Around the fire, tired faces nodded. Fear was still there, but something stronger had replaced it. From space, the council watched in uneasy silence. After only a few hours, one terrible thought spread through their minds. Maybe sending humans to a Deathworld was not a punishment. Maybe it was a mistake. The alien observation station floated quietly above the red planet, its silver hull glowing under distant starlight. Inside, 3 officers watched the surface through a large holographic screen. They expected screams, panic, and bodies scattered across the crash site. That was how every species ended on a Class 15 Deathworld. First came fear, then mistakes, then death. But what they saw instead made the room strangely quiet. The humans were still alive. The camera zoomed closer. Small fires burned in a circle. Shadows moved with purpose, not panic. Impossible, one officer muttered. The first night kills everyone. Another tapped the console, checking the life signs again and again. The readings were correct. 93% survival. No one spoke after that. Down on the surface, Captain Elias Ward stood near the fire with a metal rod in his hands. The rod had once been part of the drop pod door. Now it was a spear. Around him, the humans worked like ants rebuilding a broken nest. Some gathered wood from the dead trees. Some dragged pieces of metal. The medics wrapped wounds. No one wasted time. The air was cold now, much colder than before. Every breath looked like smoke. Strange stars glowed in the sky, but they were hidden behind dark red clouds moving too fast. Thunder rolled again and again. It never truly stopped. A young engineer named Mira sat beside a broken transmitter, hitting it softly with a tool. Come on, come on, she whispered. Sparks jumped. The machine coughed, but stayed dead. No signal, she said finally. Nothing gets out. Elias nodded. He expected that. Whoever dropped them here didn't want survivors calling for help. Then we survive without help, he said calmly. His voice spread confidence through the group. It was strange, but people listened to him without question. Maybe because he sounded certain. Maybe because fear needed something strong to hold on to. Suddenly, a scream came from the trees. Everyone turned. One of the scouts ran back, breathing hard. Movement. Big movement. Something circling us. The forest beyond the firelight shook. Leaves trembled. Heavy steps crushed branches. Not one creature, many. Elias raised his spear. Form a line. Keep the fire behind you. The humans moved fast. Faster than the aliens expected. Workers became fighters. Tools became weapons. Even the injured picked up rocks. The darkness beyond the fire moved again. Then glowing eyes appeared. Dozens of them. Low growls filled the air. The creatures looked like wolves, but bigger, with long claws and thin bodies built for speed. Their mouths dripped saliva that burned the ground. They were hungry. One of them rushed forward. Then another. The attack began. Chaos exploded. People shouted. Metal clashed with claws. One creature jumped at Elias, but Hio struck first, smashing its head with the spear. Another bit a man's arm, but two others pulled it away and stabbed it with sharp bone knives. It was messy, loud, fast, but the humans didn't break. They fought together. After several long minutes, the last creature ran back into the forest. Silence returned, broken only by heavy breathing. The ground was covered with dark blood. 3 humans were hurt badly, but alive. No one had died. Elias looked around, surprised himself. "We held," he said softly. Myra stared at the dead creatures. "If they keep coming, we won't last," she said. Elias shook his head. "Then we don't wait for them to come. Tomorrow, we hunt first." Those words changed something. Hunt, not hide. Not run. Hunt. Morning came with a weak red light. The air smelled worse, like chemicals and smoke. But the humans were already awake. Fires were still burning. New tools were ready. Bones from the creatures became daggers. Skin became rough armor. Even their blood was studied. One medic discovered it had strange healing properties. When placed on wounds, bleeding slowed faster. "This planet is trying to kill us," Myra said while adjusting a metal trap. "But everything here can also help us." Elias gave a small smile. "Then we use everything." Small teams moved into the forest carefully. They set traps. They marked paths. They learned the sounds of the land. Hours later, they returned dragging 2 more dead predators. Food, leather, materials. The fear in their eyes slowly changed into confidence. From orbit, the alien officers watched the humans carry the bodies like trophies. One officer's hands shook. "There? Farming the predators," he said. "They should be prey." Another whispered, "They're acting like this world belongs to them." As the second night approached, something else happened. The ground trembled slightly. Birds-like creatures flew away screaming. Even the smaller predators ran. The humans noticed it too. "Why is everything running?" Someone asked. A deep shadow passed over the clouds above. Too big to be normal. Too slow to be a storm. Elias looked up, feeling a cold weight in his chest. Whatever scared the monsters was bigger than anything they had seen yet. Far away, beyond the hills, a massive shape moved. Trees fell like grass under its steps. Each footstep shook the earth. The humans stood still, listening to the distant thunder that wasn't thunder at all. Myra swallowed. "Tell me that's just another storm," she said quietly. Elias didn't answer. He tightened his grip on his spear, and stared into the dark horizon. Because for the first time since landing, even he wasn't sure they could win. And high above them, the alien satellite zoomed in, locking on to the giant moving shape. One officer whispered in fear, "Nothing survives that thing." Down below, the humans prepared their fires and weapons again, unaware that something far worse than the night predators was now coming toward them. The ground kept shaking long after sunset, slow, heavy tremors that moved through the soil like the heartbeat of something massive. The humans felt it under their boots while they worked. Every few minutes the metal scraps hanging around the camp rattled softly. No one spoke much. Even the wind sounded different tonight, lower and heavier, like the planet was holding its breath. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the firelight and stared into the dark forest. The small predators from the night before were gone. Not a single growl, not a single glowing eye. It was too quiet, and quiet on this world felt wrong. Behind him, the camp had changed. It no longer looked like a crash site. It looked like a small fortress. Broken pod doors formed a rough wall. Sharp bones were pushed into the ground like spikes. Fires burned brighter and higher. Mira and 2 engineers had tied metal plates together to make shields. Others carried spears, knives, and heavy rods. They were learning fast. Too fast for a normal species. "Motion sensors ready," Myra said, pointing at thin wires attached to empty cans and metal pieces around the trees. "If something big walks near us, we'll hear it." Elias nodded. "Good. Nobody sleeps deep tonight. 2-hour shifts. Stay sharp." No one complained. Fear had turned into focus. They all felt it. Something big was coming. High above the planet, the alien observation station watched through multiple cameras. One officer zoomed out, showing a heat map of the region. A huge red shape moved slowly through the forest, crushing everything in its path. Trees fell like matchsticks. The creature was bigger than any life form recorded on that planet. "That's an apex," one alien whispered. "Top predator. Even we never study those up close." Another officer looked down at the small human camp on the screen. "Then this ends tonight." Back on the surface, night fell completely. The red clouds covered the stars. The fires became the only light. The humans sat quietly, listening. Crack. A branch broke somewhere far away. Then another. Then silence again. Elias raised his hand. Everyone froze. Crack. Boom. This time it was louder. Like a tree snapping in half. The sound came closer. The ground trembled harder now. Step, step, step. Each step felt like a hammer hitting the earth. Some people tightened their grip on their weapons. One young man whispered, "What is that?" Elias answered calmly, "Big, very big. Stay together." Suddenly, the metal traps on the left side of the camp exploded with noise. Cans rattled wildly. Wires snapped. Something huge had walked straight through them without even slowing down. The trees there bent and fell like paper. Then it appeared. At first, they only saw its shadow, blocking the firelight. Then 2 giant yellow eyes opened in the dark. The creature stepped forward. It was taller than their drop pod. Its body was thick and covered in hard black plates, like armor. Long claws dug into the soil. Its mouth was full of teeth bigger than knives. Scars covered its skin, proof that it had fought many battles and won them all. Hot breath came from its mouth like smoke. It didn't rush like the smaller predators. It walked slowly, confidently, like a king entering his land. "Hold the line," Elias said quietly. No one ran. Their hearts raced, but their feet stayed planted. The creature roared. The sound hit them like a wave, shaking their ears. Then it charged. The first wall of metal shattered like glass. Spikes broke. The ground shook hard. "Fire!" Elias shouted. Burning spears flew. One stuck in its side, but the creature barely reacted. It slammed its tail across the camp, throwing 2 people into the dirt. Another human stabbed its leg, but the blade snapped. Too thick. Someone yelled. Panic tried to grow, but Elias forced himself to think. Big body, heavy weight, slow turns. Don't fight head-on. He shouted. Hit and move. Lead it to the traps. The humans scattered, moving like a team. Some threw fire to distract it. Others banged metal to make noise. The creature followed the closest target, angry and confused. Step by step, they pulled it toward a narrow path between 2 heavy rocks where Mira had placed their biggest trap. A pile of broken engines, fuel cells, and sharp metal pieces tied together with wire. "Now," Elias yelled. Myra pressed the detonator she had built from pod batteries. A bright flash exploded under the creature's feet. Fire and smoke filled the air. The blast threw dirt everywhere. For a second, everything went quiet. Then the monster screamed. It had fallen. One leg was bleeding badly. Black blood covered the ground. Again, "Don't stop," Elias shouted. Humans rushed forward together. Spears stabbed the same wound again and again. Fire burned its eyes. Metal rods smashed its head. The creature fought wildly, but it was trapped and hurt. After a long, brutal minute, it finally stopped moving. Silence fell over the camp. Heavy breathing. Shaking hands. The giant body lay still, smoke rising from it. They had done it. Slowly, someone laughed in disbelief. Then another. They were alive. They had killed the king of this forest. Elias leaned on his spear, tired but standing. "Remember this," he said quietly. "Nothing here is invincible." From orbit, the alien officers stared in horror at the dead apex on their screens. One whispered, "They just killed a creature that wiped out 3 armored expeditions." Another said softly, "They aren't prey anymore." Down below, the humans began cutting pieces from the giant beast, already thinking about armor, tools, and weapons. They weren't celebrating. They were adapting again. But as they worked, none of them noticed the distant mountains shaking slightly, or the faint glow deep underground, like something older and far worse had just awakened because the apex was gone. 10 days passed on the Deathworld, but it did not feel like 10 days. It felt like months. Every hour brought a new danger, a new lesson, or a new fight to survive. The humans no longer counted time by clocks or calendars. They counted by sunrises they managed to see. Each sunrise meant they were still alive. The red sky slowly brightened as another cold morning began. Smoke rose from several controlled fires inside the camp. What had once been a crash site now looked like a small settlement. Metal walls stood stronger and taller. Bones from giant predators were tied together to make fences. Skins dried on racks. Spears, knives, and shields were lined neatly on the ground. Nothing was wasted. Everything had a use. Captain Elias Ward walked through the camp quietly, watching his people work. He noticed something strange. No one moved like a victim anymore. They moved like owners of a land. Engineers shaped metal into tools. Medics sorted strange plants they had collected. 2 former office workers were now cleaning creature hides like professionals. Even the children carried small sticks, copying the guards. The planet had changed them fast. Too fast. Mira called him over near the main fire. She was holding a small metal plate covered with dark liquid. "Look at this," she said. Apex blood mixed with tree sap. "It hardens like stone." Elias touched it. It felt strong and light. "Armor," he said. Mira nodded with a small smile. Better than anything we had on the ship. Nearby, a group of hunters returned, dragging another dead predator behind them. It was smaller than the apex, but still dangerous. They laughed while carrying it. Laughing. On a Class 15 Deathworld. That sound should not exist here. High above, the alien observation station recorded everything. The officers watched the humans build and craft like they had lived there for years. They should be starving, one officer said nervously. Instead, their food supply is growing. Another zoomed in on the camp. They are domesticating the smaller animals. They're turning predators into resources. The room felt colder. One alien whispered, "They are changing the ecosystem." Back on the surface, Elias organized scouting teams. "We don't stay blind," he said. "Map the area. Mark safe paths. Learn this world before it learns us." The teams moved out in groups of 4. They carried new shields made from the apex's armored plates. Even the claws had been turned into curved blades. The forest looked less frightening now. Dangerous, yes, but not unknown. And unknown things were always the scariest. After hours of walking, one team found something strange near the rocky hills. The trees suddenly stopped growing there. The ground turned black and hard like old glass. No animals walked nearby. The air felt colder. "This place is wrong," one scout whispered. Then they saw it. Tall shapes rising from the ground. Straight lines. Sharp corners. Not natural. Buildings, old ones. Broken and half-buried, but clearly built by intelligent life. "Structures," the team leader said. "Someone lived here before us." They moved closer carefully. The walls were made of dark metal stronger than anything they had seen. Strange symbols covered the surface. Most of the place was destroyed, like something massive had crushed it long ago. Inside one broken room, they found skeletons. Not human. Not any species they knew. Long bones. 4 arms. Large skulls. Hundreds of them scattered across the floor. "They didn't leave," one scout said quietly. "They died here." The team recorded everything and returned fast. When Elias heard the report, his face grew serious. "So we're not the first ones sent here," Mira said. "No," Elias replied. "And that means this planet already defeated others." That night, everyone felt the weight of that truth. If advanced aliens had died here, then survival was not guaranteed. But strangely, the discovery did not break morale. Instead, it made them more careful, more determined. "If they failed," one hunter said while sharpening a blade, "then we just do better." The humans studied the ruins the next day. They found broken machines and pieces of old technology. Nothing worked, but some metals were useful. They salvaged everything they could carry. It felt like finding treasure in a graveyard. As the sun began to set again, Elias stood on a small hill and looked at the growing camp. Smoke rose straight into the sky. Guards walked the walls. Hunters returned with food. Children helped carry water. It no longer looked like survivors hiding. It looked like settlers building a future. For a brief moment, he felt hope. Maybe they could truly live here. Maybe this world could become home. Then the ground trembled softly. Not like footsteps. Not like the apex. This vibration was deeper, slower, like something far underground moving in its sleep. Everyone stopped. Cups rattled. Loose stones rolled. The shaking lasted only a few seconds, then stopped. Silence returned. Myra looked at Elias. "That wasn't normal," she said. He nodded. No, it wasn't. Far away, near the ancient ruins, a crack slowly opened in the ground. Red light leaked out from below, faint but alive. Dust fell into the darkness. Something ancient shifted deep under the planet's surface. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. High above, the alien satellites detected a huge energy spike below the crust. The officers stared at the reading in shock. One whispered, "That sector was marked extinct thousands of years ago." Down below, the humans returned to their fires, unaware that their growing noise, their hunting, and their explosions had woken something the old civilization had failed to kill. And beneath their feet, in the deep, dark earth, something enormous slowly opened its eyes. The shaking under the ground did not stop after that night. It came again the next morning, softer but longer, like something huge turning in its sleep. Small stones rolled down the hills. Water inside metal containers vibrated. Even the fires trembled. The humans felt it, but could not see the cause. The sky looked the same. The forest looked the same. Yet something felt different, like the planet itself was alive and watching them. Captain Elias Ward stood near the wall and studied the horizon. He had fought wars before. He knew this feeling. It was the same quiet tension that came before a battlefield exploded. Mira walked up beside him, holding a small device made from old alien parts found in the ruins. Wires stuck out of it like veins. "I got one of the old scanners working," she said. "Not perfect, but it reads energy and movement underground." Elias raised an eyebrow, and she showed him the screen. A red line blinked deep below them. Very deep. "Something massive is down there," she said softly. "Bigger than anything we've seen." Elias didn't answer for a moment. Then he said, "We need to learn more about those ruins. If someone lived here before, they knew what this planet hides." A small team was prepared immediately. Elias, Mira, 2 scouts, and 1 medic. They carried shields made from apex plates and bags for salvage. The walk to the ruins felt shorter this time. They knew the path. Fewer predators followed them now. Many had moved away after the apex died. It was strange. The forest felt empty, like animals were afraid of something else. When they reached the ruins, the place looked even darker than before. The black metal towers rose like broken teeth from the ground. Wind passed through empty windows, making low, whistling sounds. Dust covered everything. Elias stepped carefully over bones scattered across the floor. "Stay sharp," he said quietly. They entered one of the larger buildings. Inside, they found more strange machines. Most were dead, covered in rust and cracks. But in the center of the room stood a tall pillar with faded lights still glowing weakly. Myra rushed toward it. "Power source," she whispered. "It's still alive." Barely. She connected her small device to the pillar using wires. Sparks jumped. The pillar flickered. Symbols appeared in the air, broken and shaking. "Can you read it?" Elias asked. Myra adjusted the screen. "Not fully, but some parts are translating." Everyone leaned closer. Words slowly formed. Warning, containment, subject transfer. Elias frowned. "Containment?" The screen flashed again. More text appeared. "Penal world designation. Level 15. Purpose, maximum survival rejection. Disposal of hostile species." The room went silent. "Disposal?" One scout repeated. Myra swallowed. "This isn't a natural death world," she said. "It was made this way. Or at least used this way." The next lines appeared slowly like ghosts from the past. Multiple civilizations transferred. 0 long-term survival. Threats eliminated by environment and native apex life forms. Elias stared at the words. The truth hit him hard. "This planet is a prison," he said quietly. "They didn't send species here to study them. They sent them to die." The medic looked around at the skeletons. "So all these people, they were prisoners too." Myra nodded. And none of them made it. Suddenly another message appeared, blinking red like an emergency warning. Final log. Containment breach. Primary asset released. Evacuation failed. Casualty rate total. Primary asset? Elias asked. Mira's hands shook slightly while translating. It says biological weapon. Engineered organism. Designed to hunt anything intelligent. Everyone felt cold. You mean something built to kill prisoners? One scout asked. Before Mira could answer, the ground trembled again, stronger this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. The old pillar sparked wildly. The screen showed one last line. Status. Asset dormant below surface. Do not awaken. Then everything shut off. Darkness returned. For a long moment, no one spoke. Elias finally said what everyone was thinking. We didn't just get dumped on a Deathworld, he said. We got dumped inside an execution ground. Myra looked toward the floor, toward the deep earth below them. And we might have just woken the executioner. Far above the planet, the alien observation station received strange readings. Energy spikes from underground. Movement larger than mountains. One officer whispered, "The humans are digging into restricted zones." Another replied nervously, "Those zones were sealed for a reason." Back on the surface, the human team hurried back to camp with the data. The sky grew darker, even though it was still day. Clouds spun faster. The wind howled through the trees like a warning. When they reached the settlement, Elias gathered everyone around the fire and explained everything. No lies, no soft words. Just the truth. The planet was a prison. Other species had died here. Something huge lived underground, built to hunt anything that survived. Some faces went pale. Some looked scared. But no one suggested giving up. One hunter simply asked, "So what's the plan?" Elias looked around at the walls they built, the weapons they crafted, the people who had already beaten monsters that should have killed them. Then he said calmly, "If this world is a prison, then we break it. And if something down there hunts us, then we hunt it first." In the distance, deep under the earth, a massive shape shifted again. Huge eyes slowly opened in the dark, and for the first time in thousands of years, it sensed prey above. The night after Elias told everyone the truth about the planet, no one slept properly. The fires burned higher than usual, and extra guards stood on the walls with spears and shields ready. The word prison stayed in everyone's mind like a heavy stone. This world was not just dangerous by nature. It was designed to kill anything that survived. And somewhere deep underground, something built as a weapon was waking up. The air felt thick and warm, even though the sky was dark. The red clouds moved faster than normal, spinning like a storm that refused to leave. Every few minutes, the ground trembled softly. Cups rattled. Metal sheets shook. Each tremor was stronger than the last. Mira sat near her scanner, watching the screen carefully. The red signal underground was brighter now, larger too. It wasn't one small point anymore. It looked like a moving mountain. "It's coming closer," she said quietly. Elias stood beside her. "How close?" "Every hour it moves a few kilometers." "At this speed? Maybe one day. Maybe less." Around them, people prepared silently. Hunters sharpened blades made from apex claws. Engineers built bigger traps using fuel cells from the pods. Medics sorted supplies. Nobody panicked. Fear was there, but it had turned into focus. They had survived too much already to break now. Early morning came with a strange silence. No birds. No small animals. No wind. Even the insects were gone. The forest looked empty, like everything alive had run away. Elias noticed it first. "Where are the predators?" he asked. One scout replied, "Tracks everywhere, all heading north, like they're escaping." Myra looked at the ground and whispered, "Animals always know first." Then it happened. Boom! The earth shook so hard that several people fell down. A deep cracking sound came from far away, like the planet itself breaking open. Dust rose into the air from the hills. Boom! Another shockwave followed. Trees in the distance collapsed in a straight line, one after another, as if something huge was pushing through them. Elias grabbed his spear. Positions now. Everyone ran to the walls. Hearts pounded. The forest ahead began to move. Not from wind, from force. Something enormous was walking through it. Then they saw it. At first, it looked like a hill rising from the trees. But hills don't move. This one did. Slowly, heavily, with unstoppable weight. The creature stepped forward, and the humans finally understood the word massive. It was bigger than any building they had made. Its body was thick like stone, covered in dark armor plates layered over each other. Long legs crushed trees underfoot like dry sticks. Its head was low and wide, filled with rows of teeth. Red light glowed faintly between the cracks in its skin, like heat from inside. It didn't look like an animal. It looked like a machine made of flesh. "That's not a predator," Mira whispered. "That's a weapon." The monster stopped and sniffed the air. Then its glowing eyes locked onto the camp. It had found them. The ground shook as it charged. "Fire traps!" Elias shouted. The first line of buried fuel cells exploded. Flames shot high into the air. The blast would have killed anything else. But the giant only slowed down. Its armor plates blackened, but did not break. It walked through the fire like it didn't matter. Second line. More explosions. Metal spikes flew. One spike stuck in its side, but the creature ripped it out easily. The humans felt a cold wave of fear. Their strongest traps were useless. The creature slammed into the outer wall. Metal screamed and bent. Bones shattered. One hit from its tail crushed an entire section of defense. People were thrown back like dolls. "Fall back. Don't let it corner you," Elias yelled. They scattered, moving fast between cover like they had trained. Hunters attacked its legs, but their blades barely scratched the armor. The monster swiped once and sent 3 people flying. Luckily, their new armor saved their lives. Mira ran to Elias, breathing hard. "We can't kill it like the others. It's too strong." Elias forced himself to think. Big, heavy, slow turns. Just like the apex, but worse. Then he remembered the map. "The canyon," he said suddenly. "If we can lure it there, it might fall." Myra's eyes widened. "That drop is hundreds of meters." "Exactly." They spread the plan quickly. A small team began firing noise bombs and flares, drawing the creature's attention. It followed the movement, roaring angrily. Step by step, they led it away from the camp and toward the rocky canyon. Every step shook the ground. Several times it almost caught them, its massive jaws snapping inches away. One wrong move meant death. Sweat burned their eyes. Legs screamed in pain. But they kept running. Finally, the canyon appeared ahead. A deep crack in the earth, too wide to jump, too deep to see the bottom. Elias turned and faced the monster, waving a burning flare. "Come on," he shouted. The creature roared and charged straight at him. At the last second, Elias dove aside. The ground broke under the monster's weight. Its front legs slipped. The edge collapsed. For one terrifying moment it hung there, claws digging into rock. Then the stone gave way. The giant fell into the darkness with a thunderous roar that echoed for seconds. Silence followed. Everyone stood there breathing hard, staring at the canyon. Dust rose slowly. Mira whispered, Did we win?" Before Elias could answer, a deep echo came from below. Not a scream, not pain, a growl. A very angry growl. Then the sound of claws scraping rock. Climbing back up, Elias's face went pale. "Run," he said quietly. "Run," Elias said, and this time no one argued. The deep growl from the canyon echoed again, louder and closer, like thunder trapped underground. Small rocks began falling back into the crack. Something huge was climbing. The humans didn't wait to see it. They sprinted through the forest, boots smashing against dirt, lungs burning. Behind them came the terrible sound of claws cutting into stone and metal. The creature wasn't just alive. It was angry. Very angry. Branches snapped as they ran past. Mira nearly fell, but a scout grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. "Don't look back," he shouted. But some did, and what they saw froze their blood. The giant weapon creature pulled itself out of the canyon like a nightmare crawling out of hell. Its armor was cracked now, pieces broken from the fall, but it was still moving. Red light leaked from the wounds. Instead of slowing down, it seemed faster, madder. It roared so loudly that birds exploded out of the trees miles away. The ground shook as it charged again. Elias forced himself to think while running. Fighting it directly was useless. Traps alone were useless. Strength against strength would always fail. "We don't fight stronger," he muttered between breaths. "We fight smarter." When they finally reached the camp, everyone rushed to defensive positions. Children and injured were moved to the center. Hunters climbed the walls. Engineers carried fuel cells and wires. The monster was still far, but closing fast. Elias climbed onto a metal crate and shouted, "Listen to me. Weapons won't kill it. Traps won't stop it. So we don't stand here and wait to die." All eyes locked on him. We make it chase us. We bleed it. We tire it. We hit and run. Guerrilla tactics. Small teams. Never let it focus on one place. Myra understood immediately. "Like wolves hunting something bigger," she said. Elias nodded. "Exactly. We are not prey. We are hunters." The plan spread fast. Team Alpha carried noise bombs and flares to draw attention. Team Beta prepared heavy explosives. Team Gamma stayed behind to protect the camp. No one wasted a second. Soon the first tremor returned. Trees fell in the distance. The monster stepped into view again, taller than the walls, smoke rising from its mouth. It smashed into the camp without slowing, crushing part of the metal fence. But the humans were already gone. Team Alpha threw flares into the trees to the left. Bright red light flashed. The creature turned and followed. Then Beta exploded a fuel cell on its right side. Boom! Fire covered its legs. It roared and changed direction again. The humans kept moving, never staying still. They stabbed cracks in its armor and ran before it could strike. They dropped traps under its feet. They attacked its eyes with fire arrows. Each hit was small, but together they slowed it. The monster grew more confused and angry. It destroyed trees and rocks, but caught nothing. Hours passed like this. Sweat covered every face. Legs trembled. Some people got hurt, but the teams pulled them out fast. No one was left behind. Above them, the alien observation station watched in disbelief. "They're not fighting it," one officer said. "They're controlling it," another whispered. The humans were leading the giant exactly where they wanted. Slowly, step by step, they guided it toward the volcanic ridge west of the camp. The ground there was weak and full of old lava tunnels. Mira had scanned it earlier. One strong blast could collapse everything. Elias ran beside her. "This is the last chance," she said. "If this fails, we're done." Elias nodded. "Then we don't fail." Team Beta set the largest explosive they had built, made from every fuel cell they could spare. Wires stretched across the rocks. The monster followed the noise bombs straight into the center of the trap. It swung wildly, destroying half the ridge. "Now!" Elias shouted. Myra hit the detonator. The world turned white. A massive explosion ripped through the ridge. The ground cracked open like glass. Lava and fire shot into the sky. The earth collapsed under the creature's weight. It roared one last time as the ground swallowed it. Then everything fell inward. Rocks, dirt, trees, and the monster disappeared into the burning pit. Silence followed. Only smoke remained. Everyone stood frozen, ears ringing. Slowly, the shaking stopped. No roar, no movement, just wind. Myra whispered, "It's over." "It has to be over." Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Then someone laughed softly. Then another. Relief spread like warm light. They had done it. Not with strength, not with power, but with teamwork and strategy. Elias looked around at his tired, dirty, injured people. Ordinary humans. No super soldiers. No advanced weapons. Yet they had killed a creature designed to wipe out civilizations. High above, the alien officers stared at the burning crater. One said quietly, "They just destroyed the primary asset. Something our fleets couldn't stop." Another whispered, "What kind of species survives a world like this?" Down below, the humans began walking back toward camp, exhausted but alive. But as the smoke cleared near the crater, deep below the broken rock, a faint red glow flickered once more, weaker but still there, like a dying coal refusing to go out. Something moved under the rubble. Something not fully dead yet. The smoke from the collapsed ridge stayed in the sky for 2 full days. A dark gray cloud hung over the land like a scar, blocking the red sunlight and covering everything in ash. Fine black dust fell over the camp, settling on metal walls, weapons, and tired faces. The air smelled like burned stone. No one celebrated anymore. They had learned something important on this planet. Nothing died easily. Not the predators. Not the storms. And not the giant weapon they had just buried under a mountain of fire. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the settlement and stared toward the crater in the distance. He wanted to believe it was over. He wanted to believe the monster was gone. But deep inside, he knew better. This world never gave easy victories. Behind him, the camp looked different now. Bigger, stronger. What started as broken drop pods had become real structures. Walls made of metal and bone. Watchtowers built from stacked engines. Storage pits filled with food and water. Small gardens of strange fungus growing in controlled soil. Humans moved with purpose, not fear. They had stopped acting like prisoners days ago. Now they acted like settlers, like owners. Mira walked up carrying a box full of wires and old circuits. Her face was dirty, eyes tired, but there was excitement in her voice. "Elias," she said, "I think I can fix it." He looked at her. "Fix what?" She pointed toward the center of camp, where pieces of the original long-range transmitter lay spread across a table. "The comms system. I've been rebuilding it using parts from the ruins and the pods. It won't be perfect, but it might send a signal into orbit." Elias felt his heart beat faster. "You're saying we can contact space?" "Maybe," she said, "if the interference isn't too strong." If the power holds, and if something up there is listening. That last part made both of them quiet. Because if something was listening, it wasn't friendly. It was the same galaxy that dumped them here to die. Still, Elias nodded. Do it, even if they hate us. They need to know we're alive. The whole camp helped. Engineers built a tall tower from scrap metal and wires. Hunters climbed trees to place reflectors. Batteries were connected in long chains. For hours they worked under the falling ash. Every spark mattered. Every cable mattered. It felt like building hope from garbage. High above the planet, inside the alien observation station, the officers were still watching. Their reports had already reached the Galactic Council. Humans had survived 10 days, then 15, then 20. They had killed the apex predators. They had destroyed the primary asset. The word impossible had been repeated too many times. Now the officers just watched in silence. One of them suddenly leaned forward. Energy spike detected from the surface, he said. Localized, artificial. Another zoomed the camera. They're building something. Back on the ground, Mira connected the final wire. Her hands were shaking slightly. Power ready, she said. Elias gathered everyone around. Dozens of tired but determined faces looked up at the small transmitter. This was their voice, their proof that they existed. Send it, Elias said softly. Myra pressed the switch. At first, nothing happened. Then the machine hummed. Lights flickered. The tower vibrated. A sharp sound filled the air like static. Everyone held their breath. Come on, Myra whispered. Suddenly, the antenna released a bright pulse of blue light that shot straight into the sky like a spear. The signal climbed higher and higher, breaking through the red clouds. Up in orbit, alarms rang inside the alien station. Incoming transmission. An officer shouted. From the surface. The room froze. That's not possible, another said. Nothing down there should have working technology. The signal hit their receivers anyway. Broken, weak, full of static. But clear enough. A human voice came through. Calm, steady, Elias's voice. This is Captain Elias Ward of Earth Expedition Group. We are alive. Repeat, we are alive. We have established shelter and control of the region. This planet did not kill us. If you can hear this, humanity survives. Silence filled the alien station. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, one officer whispered, They're not asking for rescue. Another finished the thought. They're reporting success. Down below, the humans waited nervously. Did it work? Someone asked. Myra checked the readings. Signal reached orbit. Something received it. A small cheer spread through the camp. It wasn't loud. They were too tired for that. But it was real. For the first time since being dumped here, they weren't alone in the universe anymore. Somewhere above them, someone knew the truth. They hadn't died. They hadn't begged. They had survived. As the sun set, Elias looked up at the dark sky. Now they know, he said. Mira nodded. Yeah, but that might not be good. He looked at her. Why? She pointed upward. Because if I were them, and I saw a species survive a Class 15 Deathworld, I wouldn't feel safe. Far above, the alien officers sent an urgent message to the Council. The words were simple and filled with fear. Humans alive. Deathworld compromised. Recommend immediate response. Within minutes, orders came back. Deploy containment fleet. Down on the planet, night fell quietly. The humans rested near their fires, unaware that multiple ships had already jumped into hyperspace, heading straight toward them. And high in the sky, tiny new stars appeared one by one, moving fast, growing brighter. A fleet was coming. The message from the humans reached the Galactic Council faster than anyone expected. Inside the massive chamber, hundreds of alien delegates sat in silence. Holograms of the Earth survivors flickered above the table, broken and static-filled, yet unmistakable. Elias Ward's voice repeated over and over, "We are alive. This planet did not kill us. Humanity survives." The room trembled with disbelief. One elder delegate banged a claw on the table. "Impossible." It shouted, "A Class 15 Deathworld is designed to kill every species that lands on it. How can they survive?" Another delegate, smaller and green-skinned, leaned forward. "They not only survived, they adapted. They defeated the apex predators. They destroyed the primary containment asset. This is unprecedented." Council chambers were filled with murmurs. Some delegates looked at each other in fear, others in disbelief. Several began sending urgent queries to the alien observation station orbiting the Deathworld. The readings confirmed it all. Energy spikes, rebuilt structures, signals to orbit, humans alive and active. One officer at the station whispered, "They're not just surviving, they're thriving." The council president, a tall creature with 6 eyes and a long translucent tail, slammed its claw on the table. "If this is true, this species cannot be contained by normal measures. They have defied every law of survival on a planet engineered to kill them." Another delegate, older than the galaxy itself, leaned in. "Then the humans must be tested, eliminated. Otherwise, they will disrupt the order we have kept for eons." The chamber fell silent for a moment. The word "eliminated" hung heavy in the air. Outside, ships already prepared for deployment hovered in their docks. Fleet commanders received the orders directly from the Council. Deploy the containment fleet to Earth and Deathworld 15 immediately. No exceptions. Humanity must be neutralized before it grows stronger. Back on the Deathworld, Elias and his team continued building defenses. They were unaware of the Council's reaction or the approaching fleet. Mira had just repaired the long-range transmitter completely, connecting it to several makeshift antennas around the camp. "It's working better now," she said, eyes bright with excitement. "We can monitor orbit. We can see who's coming." Elias frowned. "Good. Then we'll know when they arrive. And we'll be ready." As night fell, the camp seemed calm. Fires burned steadily, and the humans moved with quiet efficiency. Hunters sharpened weapons. Engineers checked traps. Medics treated small injuries. But the atmosphere was tense. Everyone knew the next challenge could arrive any time. High above the planet, the alien observation station detected movement in hyperspace. Small dots appeared on the monitors, growing bigger with every second. "Fleet detected," one officer said nervously. "They are faster than expected. They left the jump points already." Another officer's hands shook. "They are coming straight for the planet." Back on the surface, Mira pointed to a small glowing screen she had made from salvaged parts. "Something's moving above," she said. Elias stepped close. "How many?" Mira adjusted the scanner. "Too many to count. Hundreds, maybe thousands. And all heading this way." The humans exchanged worried glances. This was not a predator. This was the galaxy itself. They had survived the planet, but the Council had sent the real test. Elias straightened. "Everyone, listen carefully. This isn't a hunt anymore. This is war. They want to destroy us before we get stronger. We've survived Deathworld 15, yes, but now the entire galaxy wants us dead." Silence. Then the humans nodded. No one argued. No one ran. They had learned too much to panic. "We fight smart," Elias continued. "We use the planet. We use the ruins. We use everything we learned. We will not die in their fleet. Not today. Hours passed, and the sky slowly changed. Tiny dots became larger, glowing brighter with each passing minute. Shadows fell over the forest. The air grew thick with anticipation. Myra whispered, "They're in orbit now." Elias looked toward the sky, hands on his spear. "Then let's give them a welcome they'll never forget." The fleet spread over the planet like a silver storm. Massive ships the size of cities hovered above, shining under the weak red sunlight. Energy shields began to hum. Weapon systems powered up. On the ground, humans moved into positions they had prepared for weeks. Explosives hidden under the terrain, traps built into trees and rocks, and long-range fire lines ready. Hunters were stationed on cliffs. Scouts in the forests. Engineers at the transmitter, ready to coordinate everything. Elias stood at the center. "Remember," he shouted, "we survived this planet. We survived impossible odds. Today, we survived the galaxy itself." Far above, the council delegates watched in the observation room. Some were confident. "Send in the attack squads," one said. "Humans cannot survive a full fleet." Another shook its head. "Perhaps we underestimated them. But we cannot retreat. Humanity cannot be allowed to exist freely." As the first ships began firing energy pulses toward the surface, the humans already moved. Smoke bombs rose. Fires flared. Traps exploded in anticipation. The first pulse hit the ground. The soil shook, but the humans were gone. The second pulse destroyed a false position, but the humans had predicted it. "They're adapting faster than we thought," one council member whispered. "They are learning from each attack, evolving in hours what would take other species decades." Elias shouted orders. "Split! Hit the left flank! Draw them toward the ruins." Explosions, fire, and gunfire lit up the night. Humans moved with precision. The fleet fired blindly. The planet itself became a weapon in their hands. Rocks fell, lava pits erupted, and traps collapsed ships before they could land. Mira transmitted signals to orbit, jamming targeting systems and redirecting communications. Elias realized something. "We don't need to destroy the fleet," he said. "We just need to survive long enough for them to learn fear." Above, the council began to understand a terrifying truth. These humans were not prey. They were predators in their own right. And the galaxy had just woken something it had never faced before. The night was alive with fire and smoke, but Elias Ward felt no fear. He had seen impossible things survive on this planet, and now the galaxy itself had come to test them. The fleet hung above like a storm, shining metal larger than cities, energy pulses bright enough to turn the forest into ash in seconds. Mira and the engineers worked at the transmitter, sending constant jamming signals to confuse sensors and redirect targeting. Hunters ran along the cliffs, dropping explosives and firing long-range arrows into ship hulls. Every movement was calculated. Every fire, trap, and shot meant survival. Elias raised his hand and shouted, "Split into teams. Hit the left flank. Draw their fire toward the ruins. Don't stop for anything." Smoke bombs exploded as humans vanished between trees. Rocks rolled down cliffs onto hovering ships. Traps hidden beneath the soil erupted, tearing the metal hulls apart before they could land troops. The fleet fired back blindly, energy pulses striking empty ground, forests, and fake camps. Mira laughed, eyes wide as she watched the first orbiting ship explode against a hidden pit filled with fuel cells. "They're learning," she shouted. Elias nodded. "Good. Let them learn fear." Hours passed like this. The humans moved like shadows, never staying in one place, always striking where the enemy least expected. Every building, every ruin, every ancient trap was a weapon now. Scouts guided the hunters through secret paths, predicting where energy beams would strike. Even the children helped, carrying small explosives, smoke flares, and food for the fighters. It was total coordination, born from necessity and endless practice. Far above, the alien council watched in disbelief. They are not retreating. They are attacking back. One officer shouted, "Impossible! A primitive species, leading a coordinated defense." Another muttered, "They are learning faster than our systems can predict." This is evolution in motion. Elias and Myra had predicted this moment. The humans were drawing the fleet closer to the volcanic ridges and the ruins beneath the forest. Every step led the attackers into prepared traps. Lava tubes were rigged with explosives, rigged to collapse under the weight of landing ships. Trees were wired to fall in precise patterns, crushing patrol units. Smoke and fire disguised their positions. One massive cruiser descended to scan the camp and deploy troops. Hunters detonated explosives under its hull. The ground shook. Metal ripped. Sparks flew. The ship tumbled sideways, crashing into another, causing a chain reaction. Fires spread. Explosions lit the sky like artificial suns. Humans cheered briefly, but Elias kept his attention forward. "Keep moving. Don't celebrate yet. More are coming." He climbed a ridge with Mira, observing the battlefield. The humans had turned Deathworld 15 into a living weapon. Each trap, each fire line, each detour made the forest itself part of the fight. Even the smaller predators had returned, sensing the chaos, now used as distractions against the landing troops. Hours turned into night. The fleet was still enormous, but their perfect formation had turned into chaos. Ships collided. Troops were trapped in forests. Energy weapons were misfiring due to Myra's jamming signals. Elias shouted, "Press the attack." Force them to panic. Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the ground. One of the largest enemy capital ships fell into a rigged lava tube, tearing open the mountainside. The humans watched in awe. It was working. The fleet's advantage, technology, and size meant nothing here. They were on Deathworld 15, and humans had mastered it. Myra's voice came over the comms. "Captain, they're retreating. Some ships are breaking formation." Elias smiled grimly. "Let them. We'll make sure they remember every second of this planet." But he knew better than to believe it was over. From orbit, the Council transmitted a warning. "Terminate the humans immediately. Do not let them survive. Deploy final strikes." The humans responded as they always did: strategy, coordination, adaptation. Every attack from orbit was countered. Traps collapsed under heavy landers. Smoke and fire masked movements. Hunters struck from hidden cliffs. Explosives turned open fields into death zones. The planet itself became a weapon. Then the final moment arrived. Elias led the strongest team toward the central ruins. They placed charges along ancient lava tubes, connected to every fuel cell and explosive they had scavenged. Mira activated the transmitter's pulse to jam sensors, while simultaneously sending misleading signals, guiding the remaining ships into the kill zone. Elias shouted, "Now!" The earth shook violently. Lava erupted. Explosives blew. Trees crashed. Rocks tumbled like mountains rolling down hills. Ships fell one after another into the trap. Troops tried to escape, but every path had been anticipated. Chaos consumed the fleet. Fires raged. Smoke blinded sensors. The humans moved through it all, unharmed, coordinated, unstoppable. When the dust settled, silence fell across Deathworld 15. The fires burned, lighting the scorched forest. The fleet was destroyed or fleeing in disarray. The Council could only watch in horror. Humans alive, Humans victorious. Humans had not just survived, they had destroyed an entire task force sent to exterminate them. Elias stood on the ridge, looking over the ruined fleet, the burned forest, and the surviving humans moving through the smoke. Myra joined him. "We did it," she whispered. Elias shook his head. "No, we survived. That's all. The galaxy will come again. And next time, we'll be ready." Far above, scattered ships and fleeing fleets carried the message back to the Council. Humanity was not a species to control, to hunt, or to contain. Humanity had survived Deathworld 15, destroyed the primary weapon designed to kill them, and outsmarted an entire fleet. Somewhere in the galaxy, the word spread like wildfire. The humans were no longer prey. They were predators. The galaxy had finally met its match. On the ground, Elias turned to his people. "This is only the beginning," he said. And for the first time since arriving on this planet, everyone smiled not with fear, but with the certainty that humans had changed everything.